Hey, World Record Heads, go to HelloFresh.com/WorldRecordFree and use code WorldRecordFree, all one word, for free breakfast for life.
One breakfast item per box while subscription is active.
That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/WorldRecordFree with code WorldRecordFree. Woo! It's showtime!
You did it.
I did it.
World record!
I did it, everybody.
World record!
Congratulations.
I did it.
World record!
I did it. I cummed. I cummed.
Okay.
Finally.
Finally, it's taken you a long time.
Yeah.
Jizz.
I learned how to cum.
Jizz.
Did you ever see that movie Happiness?
No.
No.
You keep asking me
Never
about
seen
it. I'm never going to watch it either.
It's so messed up. Who made that? Todd Solondz, I think.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Aaron?
No, I've just heard about it.
I don't know. Nobody's seen it.
Why would you watch
you
it
go
when
see
you... I
How
read
did
what
you see
happens in it. Yeah, why would you see it?
You think I don't appreciate art? You think I don't understand fashion? You think I'm not hip? You think I'm pathetic? A nerd? A lard-ass fatso? You think I'm shit? Well, you're wrong. 'Cause I'm champagne.
I saw it. Well, number one, actually, and this was like good marketing. I don't know what year it came out. I was pretty young, but Daniel Clowes, the comic book artist, Art School Confidential. That
Do you have
movie.
it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He did the poster for that, and that was based on one of his comic books. Either way, it was this comic book artist did the poster for Happiness I liked that comic book artist. So that grabbed my attention. Like, oh wow, Daniel Clowes did a poster for this movie, it was like supposed to be like this weird, fucked up movie. So I went to go see it in Philadelphia at this art house. And I remember, like, I guess I knew something about, because it's like, it's a messed up movie. It's like
It's
about
not
this dad
happy.
who's like a pedophile.
God damn.
And there is a great scene in there, though, where he's just like, he has this fantasy. He's just like walking through a park. Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess now you probably could do that. He's walking through a park with like a gun, just like shooting everybody in the park. It's a pretty funny scene.
But like, is it funny though? I feel like dark comedies and stuff. It's like this just isn't very funny though.
You know, it's definitely a.
You feel that way about all dark comedies?
Certain dark comedy. I mean, stuff like that where.
And when you
I
say
don't
dark
know.
comedies, you're not talking about like Medea.
No,
or
I
anything
love
like that.
Medea.
Okay.
Those are my favorite
Good
dark
afternoon.
comedies. I don't know. I just feel like it's like trying to be like, see, this is funny, and it's kind of like.
Well, there was.
I don't
I went and saw it at this place called the Roxy in Philadelphia, which is a very small kind of like art house theater. I just belched into a napkin.
It's proper.
And
it's like Doc Holliday.
but there was a family in the theater, and I'm like, why are they? Because they had a little. It was a man and a woman and like a, I don't know, 9-year-old boy.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, did they just come to this movie because it's called Happiness and it had like a cartoon like poster?
yes.
I'm fascinated.
But they sat in there, but they were there because I'm like,
And they
watching-
watched the
I'm
whole
like,
thing?
No, they left, but like way later than they should have. Like I remember, I was like very aware of them. It was a small theater, and they were a few rows behind me, and I'm just like, what the fuck are these people? Are like, they should have left already. Like this is
They should have
obviously
left the
not what they
second
thought.
Philip Seymour Hoffman came
And then when
on
they did leave, the
screen.
guy was
there
just
is a certain. You're like, well, this
is not a family
small
comedy.
theater.
totally.
And there's that actor that is nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, kid.
Let's
yeah,
get
I
outta
mean,
here.
But when
I
they-
am fascinated. This is like people that just go see music,
Right,
or
yeah.
comedy,
Live music. What kind of music do you like? Live.
Like I like comedy.
yeah.
Where you're like, well, you're going to be disappointed.
But the thing was, though, when they left way too late, the guy was like, fuck this shit. Like, was like all indignant and yelled to ruin it, like, to just let everybody else know, like, I don't fucking like this. And it's like, yeah, you should have figured that out 25 minutes ago.
Why are you still here?
If only there was a way to know what this was about.
Yeah.
But, listeners.
I guess back then there was no internet.
Well,
yeah, there was no internet.
There wasn't?
No, it was like 90.
Or maybe
I mean, I was still living in Philadelphia, so it was like pre-96.
There was no Rotten Tomatoes. How else would you know?
Do you think that well, I was going to say it's kind of irresponsible for whoever was in the box office, but that's also an art house person that was probably like, this is going to be funny.
Yeah. They should have said, no, I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah, they're like, you can't take your kid into
No.
That is true. There is
But I'm sure it's like some also like, punk kid who's just like, yeah, you should get,
yeah, it's really funny.
I mean, yeah. And also I guess if it's parents with a kid,
well,
like, maybe they should have been like, do you know what this is?
It's 1998, by the way.
One time I was
98, huh?
One time I was working in Tulsa at the Looney Bin, which I don't think exists anymore. And I was sitting by the bar, and the box office was like right by the box office. You had to walk in, and then the bar was here, and then you bought tickets right beside the bar. And I was just sitting there between shows, and this couple came in, and they go, like, what is this? And the box office lady's like, what do you mean? Because then that got my attention. I was like, that's an odd question.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what kind of comedy is this?
Oh.
And the lady was like, stand up. And then the guy goes, so just people stand up there and just like tell jokes? And she was like, and in my head, I was like, do not sell them a ticket.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, cool. And I'm to this day, they did not stay the whole show. They didn't even make it to, like, I was closing, they didn't make it to my set. I watched them because I was like, what do you like, how are you confused? Like, did they think there's like they were showing like Step Brothers in there? Like, I don't understand. I don't know what they thought.
People throwing pies in each other's faces.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Gallagher's
before we continue, we have a guest.
Oh, we haven't even introduced him yet.
Introduced him.
Let's introduce him.
Billy Wayne Davis, everybody. BWD, as he's known on the streets. BWD.
BWD.
It is.
Billy Wayne
and street name.
Davis. I've been meaning to have you on for a while, actually. It was actually pretty...
Can I be honest why that hasn't happened? Because when you sent your actual email, I thought because you're kind of a jokester.
Uh-huh.
And your email is silly.
Is it his lawyer's email?
Yes, it's his lawyer's email, and I thought you were being a smartass. So
wait, I sent you that email?
Yeah.
Before?
Yeah.
Really?
And then I just didn't. I was like, I just figured you would send me the actual contact, and then probably like a couple weeks later, I was like, oh, that's probably the email, and then I just forgot.
Yeah.
And then the other day, I was like, I'm just gonna DM him because I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad. It's funny when you texted me. I had just been thinking about reaching out to you to be on the podcast.
To be fair, if we ever have a
but we don't see each other a lot. That's the thing.
Well, we have kids now, and then we travel, and like we're not.
And I'm bad at booking the podcast. If anybody wants to be a producer and do some stuff for me,
we literally think of it the night before.
But they want
or the
money.
Morning
It's the damnedest thing.
Well, there's no money. This is a complete non-money making gig that I have going on here.
No, I understand. That's just I'm also a comedian. So I understand. But then it's like when you're like, hey, can you do this stuff for me? You're like, yeah, for this much money. You're like, oh.
Well, I also don't want. I mean, I would love to. Yeah, I'm not going to ask people. I hate it when people ask me to do shit for no money.
That's why I'm like, oh, I wish I could pay you.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah, it's a whole.
But I'm glad you're here. And yeah, we don't see. We've never really seen each other as much as I would like to.
I agree.
Yeah. The times that we have been around each other, it's always been pleasant. And
I've always been a fan.
Same.
Like one of my favorite. When you put the sign up that Whole Foods was coming to see, like it is one of my favorite.
Thanks.
Were people mad?
Mad.
Yeah, people were really mad.
But that's crazy because now there's a Whole Foods there and everybody's like happy about it.
Well, that was the funny thing that even like
isn't that weird?
5 or 6 years later, they said Whole Foods is coming, and this time it's not a joke. Like, it really scarred people in that neighborhood.
Did.
Well, the thing
in a way that I was like, it was like one of those first signs that you're like, oh, I haven't moved to a healthy place.
Yeah.
That this could fuck up shit like this. You're like, this is fun. But
where did you put this? Where was the sign?
At right at Sunset and Fountain. I think. Wait, where was the? There used to be a Circuit City there, and now it's just like parking for the Children's Hospital or something.
Oh, okay.
The building's still there, but they just painted it and fenced it in, and now there's just like cars parked there all the time.
It is. And then the other one was the one by the Virgil.
The cell phone one, yeah.
That one I just saw one day and like busted out laughing, and then I was like, I think I know who did this.
Oh yeah, you saw it naturally, like in the wild.
I did not know about it, and I was like, you know how you're just like, and I looked up and you look at the sign, and I was like, and I like belly laughed, and then I was like, oh yeah, I have one suspicion of who did that.
That was the intention with that one, just to have people go like, why would they? Those are weird texts to put on that for an ad. Like, are they
Is
saying...
that the one where your dad died? Yeah.
Your dad passed away last night. Your
You're
father
like, what?
passed away. What? Huh?
But also that billboard's so low.
That's why it was a target. And that one I actually didn't even get to. That's the thing with both of those things. I mean, the Whole Foods one, there's no way to like really... I mean, the Whole Foods one was interesting because it spiraled so quickly. Like, we went and hung up the sign. I think there were 2 banners, and
how much did you spend?
Actually, my friend, I think he's fine with me. Tall John, who's John Schrader.
Oh, okay. Never
he's
mind. We said his full name. That I was like, Tall John's like
I think
pretty
he likes
vague
the
thing.
and also the statute of limitations is passed anyway. But no, he's like he works for Bob's Burgers, and so he's successful.
Oh,
guy.
okay. So
so
you have to protect him a little bit.
I don't know how he caught wind of it. Maybe I was just telling him about it. I was like, oh, I have this funny idea, and he was like, I'll pay for the banners if you're going to do it or whatever. So.
Which is what any of us would do if you had that. If you had like a job, or I have some money for
in
this.
hindsight, it wasn't like it was like a couple $100, but
course,
like to me, that wasn't.
Yeah.
I was, I had just moved here, and I didn't really have like $300 to throw around.
Prank money.
Prank money.
Yes.
And he and Kyle Dunnigan was there too.
Of course, he just shows up when great ideas like that.
And we did it. Took a few minutes. And then we went to get breakfast or brunch or whatever.
Because it's simple.
Yeah, it was very simple. But by the time we got to breakfast, I looked on Twitter and it already was like, people were like, oh my God, this is Whole Foods coming. And
but why were they mad? Just because it's like
they were mad. Well, here's one thing, because
it wasn't coming.
They
were excited. It was coming.
Did cause people were excited, but then there were side arguments about gentrification, and people were like,
people were mad about.
Well, why are you talking about gentrification when the median house price here is already like $900,000?
It's too late for that.
Yeah, and so it started these like side arguments, but then when it was revealed that it was a hoax, people were angry. Because I had a meeting with I don't know what it was for, but it was at CAA. It was one of those agencies. I knew this guy he's a pretty big deal agent, and my manager or something brought up the Whole Foods thing. And he's like, oh, okay, that was you? He's like, yeah, I live in that neighborhood. I was like, are you mad? Were you mad about that? He was like, yeah. He's like, because we were excited. We thought our house was going to be, like, they thought property value was going to increase. And
they were like, oh, cool, like a better selection of food and blah, blah, blah. They were just like, but that is how an agent thinks. They're like, cha-ching.
Yeah. That's what it is.
At least it's consistent.
Yeah.
I had this booker be like talking shit about some agent to me because I was trying to book something, and they're like, he does this, this, and this, and he'll leverage this to get. And I was like, I mean, you guys, to be frank with you about this, like, I'm interested in calling him because he seems to actually try to get more money for his clients, which is more than any of them do. And the guy was like, that is a good point. Yeah. Right. And I was like, none of them seem to be even doing that. And he's like, no, they don't.
No, they don't. And I was with a guy that he was, I don't want to say notorious, but I talked to 2 other people who used to be with him when I was with him. And he's like a great guy or whatever. But
no,
they both,
No, he's not.
yeah, I don't know.
No. But they be in that business.
Yeah, they both said that's the reason they fired him was because they found out, they told him to ask for more money for things. And he was like, no, they don't. They said they wouldn't do it. And then they kind of went around him and said, hey, did he ask for more money? And they were like, no, he didn't even call us. We'll give you more money if you want.
Exactly.
Isn't that the whole point, though, of their job?
Well, I think some of them just want to maintain, at a certain level, like a guy like Billy Wayne, no offense, or me.
I'm excited about what's because I know the truth.
Well, because it's not, you're not like a fuck you client where they're like, you're not Jim Gaffigan. That's what I'm saying. That's where that comes in.
We need to be here's what they do. And it's no secret, is they'll have 2 or 3 actual draws.
yeah.
People that are famous enough that they
could sell out a weekend at a comedy club or sell
hey, I'm coming, people will buy tickets if they know about it. So what they'll do with these clubs is they'll leverage those clients with whoever else they have. But clubs figured this out too, is that, they don't build their, it's just this weird game that is, at this point, antiquated.
Yeah.
Because it's this one part of the stand-up industry is that, where it's boxed in with, if you're with a certain group, you're going to play these certain places and that's just, and you'll be with these certain agents and this is how it happens. But there are these types of comics. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it is like an antiquated, very old system that I think will eventually go away because a lot of people will eventually retire from that system.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it will fall into this, what it is now, which is like this scattered niches.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on with comedy anymore.
Got all
I feel
weird
like it's
right there.
really,
Do you tour a lot?
Yeah, but I'm I don't have I've had big agents, I've had smaller agents.
Yeah.
They don't, because I don't blame them. There's no way to know who's going to break and who's not, and there's no real way to build a client anymore.
Yeah.
So, and the best thing I've heard is Fahim nailed it when he was like, they're just day traders now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just picking up whatever stock's hot and then buying it and selling
it. You just got to get them on Joe Rogan, really, is the only way to make a comedian's career now.
And that's not.
But I feel like there is a machine. There is part of this machine, though, where they can just take someone and be like, don't worry, you're going to be famous. And there are ways to just cram where it's just like, this is the next guy. Well, so put him on whatever, and then there is a level of,
if you want to be an entertainer that's an archetype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then yes, they can do that for you.
Right.
And you can do it mindlessly.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're devoid of, if you're just some, I don't want to name any names,
no,
but
you don't have to. You don't have to. But I'm not.
But if there's just no substance and you're like, I'll do anything. I just want to be famous, whatever. Do comedy, I can do that. I know the mechanics. I can.
Entertainer.
Yeah. I want to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
But I don't really have a soul.
Which is not even their fault.
No,
I'm not blaming them.
No.
We're all for the longest time, I thought oh, comedians are damaged and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I'm not. That's not. And then, you start going to therapy and you're like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn it. There is a reason I do this.
I haven't started going to therapy yet. I've dabbled in it, actually.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Whether your resolution is to save money, eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh is here to help you do all three. Our resolution is to eat better, to get in shape, and with our HelloFresh food, it's so easy and fast and delicious.
Yes, A-Train. This time of year, everyone's looking to revamp their eating habits. Look to HelloFresh's wholesome, health-forward options like over 30 calorie-smart and protein-smart recipes each week.
You got the calorie-smart ones, and we made some of those meals, and I thought they were delicious.
World record heads. You know that we got this trainer guy coming in. We're going to lose weight. HelloFresh is helping us with some meals, so you get in on the action. So go to HelloFresh.com/worldrecordfree and use code WorldRecordFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/worldrecordfree with code WorldRecordFree.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Timeout's over.
You had the worst, probably the worst kind of therapist that I don't think is even legally a therapist. I mean, he had a website.
Oh,
with
that
like
guy.
Client
That was
testimonials.
yeah, but I had done.
I don't think that you're allowed to do that. Isn't that some sort of a
he
breach
was like
of?
a famous guy. Yeah, I don't know, a famous guy.
You're just going to a famous dude?
Well, no, he was recommended to me by a famous guy, but he was just like, oh no, yeah, I talked to I don't know.
Like
I don't
just very
get
sort of like unethical, like some of it. I don't know what you've told me. I'm just
more
like,
than a therapist, like a guru or a life coach.
He had more of
Maybe.
a meditation. Like he was like, kind of like you would put him in a movie about Hollywood, as like,
Yeah.
oh, this is my therapist, and like a guy would come floating down out of rafters, and and some kind of like flowing bullshit, and
yeah, like the dude in Silicon Valley. That was just kind of the yes man.
I think so.
Dude.
I didn't watch the show, but I think you might be right. That does ring a bell.
I went to a thing one time. It was supposed to be through yoga, but it was like, and it was like a semi-famous person recommended to my wife and I, and like within the first 10 minutes, the guy was like pandering to being like, there's a reason this costs a lot of money because you guys are elite people. And it was just like, I was just like, oh, I see what he's doing.
that's not working, huh?
And it made me laugh because I was like, oh, I don't have a lot of money. That's funny. I see what you're doing, though.
Yeah.
This is a good scam. But you could see the people being like, yep, we are elite.
Like, you're
and
right.
I was like, oh, you're the reason VIP exists is because you will pay for it.
Yeah.
It's like
This is a great town to. I mean, you have kids. You have kids with. It's a big spread, right? You have like an old kid, and then you have a new kid.
You have a young kid and an old one.
One of my kids is older than me now. Crazy. It sneaks up on
Well, that's
you.
the South. That can happen. It's
No,
like
I have
Southern,
I have a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old. Yeah, with two different ladies. I don't suggest doing it that way.
usually happens. That's usually how you get that kind of spread there.
Yeah, that is. You were going to say about Hollywood.
Oh well, So like, are you familiar with the whole doula thing?
Oh yeah, we had one.
No, you did.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. I feel like that's. And I'm not.
She gave us some of our money back because because my wife's labor was so like fast and easy because my wife did a lot of yoga and a lot of breathing, and she's like in really great shape.
But she has a giant vagina.
Huge. I called it too. I was like, oh, it's gonna be
should have
easy.
a baby because they'll just come
roll
flying out of that
I was
fucking
like, I
wind
just kind
tunnel.
of watch it after like the third trimester. I was
it's
like, it
like
might fall out.
In preschool when they play with like that parachute thing, the kids like run through there.
She did, Mayday. It was like, but like even like because I have an older one, so like it happened so fast.
Yeah.
The delivery.
Dude didn't have anything to do, really. Was she
was
there?
like late.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like even the doctor, the gynecologist, like when the baby was delivered, like it was like 3 or 4 like big pushes and the baby
Oh,
came
my
out. I remember being
God.
like, wait, what the? And even the doctor's like, whoa, that was.
that was
pretty fast.
that's pretty
That was
cool.
crazy. And then doula came and I was like, you didn't do anything.
Well, and I feel like, and
The doctor did not like the doula. That was.
Why?
I'm sure they
that
don't.
was-
I'm
it was like I think it's the way actual doctors feel about chiropractors too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like
they just
what are
don't
you
want some
doing?
quack in their space. I mean, I know that like the women. I don't want to.
Some
The
of
thing
it
is, I never
is
heard of a
real where
doula.
it's like men don't naturally know how to to tend to a lot of women's needs during pregnancy.
But some of these doulas,
where our brains are not.
A lot of these doulas never had a kid.
But that is the fascinating. Ours did. She was really good with some of my wife's emotional and like needs that I could never be aware of because of whatever, because of nature.
Yeah.
So there were like a certain time she made my wife comfortable and feel better that I was like, I'm so glad you're here. This would have turned really ugly because I truly didn't understand what was happening.
But you could also just have one of her friends. And for everybody listening who doesn't live in Los Angeles, a doula is a lady that, because it only exists here and then like the middle, like wherever it was invented, like India
Chaos.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Santa Fe.
Yeah, somebody like, caught wind of this, somebody on their travels, some like,
Yes,
the daughter of the guy who owns a Halliburton was traveling through
River Oaks,
Tibet, and heard about this doula thing.
Like,
it was like, I got a new fucking scam to bring back to LA.
Round Rock, Texas.
I mean, I've always said you could start like an elite dog shit picker-upper company where you go to rich people's houses and pick up their dog shit and dispose of them in some kind of like golden fleece bag or whatever. Like you could make $10,000 a month picking up rich people's
That's a good
dog
idea.
shit.
That's honestly a good idea.
Well, but I mean, that's one of the great things about this town. It's one of the awful and great things.
It's not just this town.
But the doula.
One of my favorite examples of this is like in Oregon, on the Oregon coast, there are sand dunes.
Yeah.
Just sand dunes.
Racist. That's a racist term.
Sure.
But okay. We can call those people that.
Okay. Well, these are like, anyway. But people go ride their four-wheelers and do stuff on the sand dunes. They're beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But there is a normal sand dune place, and then there's a luxury area that you pay extra to go. And I've been to both, and it's just sand in both of them.
Yeah.
But it made me laugh. Because I was like, some people are like, it's just nicer over here, so we pay more money. And you're like, it's the same.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
I have
Eroded rock.
found though, anytime within reason, if there is, because I like going to like concerts and stuff, and if there is like a VIP thing that you can pay for, that's if it's not too astronomical, I always go for that because it's like it is better. It's always better to have like access to like bathrooms nobody can use.
Oh, I agree.
Like a private
That
bar.
Yes.
But to finish explaining to people what a doula is, you can look it up. It's DOULA, right?
Yeah.
LA. It's right in the. But it's just a lady that you hire to hang out with your wife.
I feel like it's for people whose families don't live close.
That's a good one too.
And don't have, and they're not, or they're not close with their mom or something.
Well, but
my mom's in Burbank.
Yeah.
So if I had any questions, I'd just ask her, and she had 4 kids, so it was like that was someone I could talk to. Yeah, exactly. But it's like I didn't need someone to text because I
it
just
is
didn't need it,
also. I feel like there's
or someone to help me.
Well, like both my wife's parents and my parents. They live on the East Coast, so it's like
there is something to that, I think.
Well,
but people have figured out a way to exploit
but there's also different. There's different
and there's
levels.
like a new age. Like I'm good at this.
Well, and then there's also
like selling you stuff, and you're like, what?
Being friends with like rich and famous people. You find that it's like once you get into that, like once you're like a doula for one rich, like,
then you're passed around.
Some famous actress is like, I had this doula, she was great. And when you're at that monetary level where they're like, how much was it? It's $20,000. Like, okay, whatever. I mean, money is meaningless to me because I make $100 million.
$77. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. This old fog hat T-shirt that I'm wearing was $250.
What I would be down for though is a night nurse.
Well, and then that's another thing. That's, for those of you who don't live in Los Angeles, a night nurse. Oh, you don't know what a night nurse is?
No.
Prepare for.
So this is every rich.
It's like
famous,
a drug dealer.
Okay, sort of.
Well, it's like, and that's the other thing. Like whenever you see a famous actress talking about how hard it is to be a mother, all you regular people listening, they have an army of people. They do nothing that you have to do when you have kids.
Have to.
A night nurse is a lady they hire to go.
Yeah,
sit
what they
in the
mean is
kids'
like they have to hire more people. It's like it's a nightmare.
Have to interview people.
It's like a whole industry running now.
So a night nurse is somebody who comes to your house, at when
night.
when you put the baby to bed. You put your baby in the crib. The night nurse shows up. They sit in the room.
And they
just
stay
sit
up with
there
the
and
baby.
stare at the baby until it wakes up, and then they give it a bottle or they bring it into you to
so
breastfeed.
everyone can sleep?
Yep.
Yes. From 7 p.m. till 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Man,
I had a friend who had one and just like handed the baby to the night nurse. The night nurse just took it up. We'll change the diaper. We'll do whatever.
Yeah, they do
swaddle
everything
it
all night.
And then she can like watch movies, go to bed whenever she wants. Could you imagine? Could you imagine how
And then-
I'm like
life changing
angry
that
right
is?
now
I know.
because
I
I'm
know.
still tired from
And then-
5 years
I
ago.
know.
And then when the
I
night
know.
nurse leaves at 7 a.m.
They
at
have
8 a.m.
postpartum doula coming in, and then they have
and
their
a
nanny,
nanny.
and then they have their chef,
Yeah.
and then they have their assistant. I mean, it's a completely different experience.
It's a whole it's really easy to have children
When you're rich.
when you're
They'll
rich.
still
I mean,
find-
everything's easy when you're rich. They say
Yeah.
money can't buy happiness, and that's a total crock
they
of
proved
shit.
that wrong.
Did they?
Actually, it was like 100
Scientifically.
Well, they did a study, and
of course, everybody's problems.
if they gave everyone literally, it's going to be devastating to everyone when I say how much.
How much? Like $100 grand?
150 grand.
Yeah,
If they gave every human 150 grand,
all their problems go away.
literally.
I mean,
Because that's all that debt, and that's all that.
Well,
like,
you can
they
pay
just
for
need
everyone
to-
can pay,
yeah.
and then the economy
Yeah.
works, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
blah.
Oh
It's like-
my God.
well, I
like a
mean, the
fucking-
federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. So
Well, that
I mean,
just
that's
makes
like-
sense because,
Yeah,
like, if you pay people more,
Yeah.
then our profits aren't as much.
I know.
Yeah.
They don't go away. They're just not as much.
yeah.
So
It's crazy the world we live in.
eventually there'll be no more workers, or it's like
Well, I mean, that's- yeah.
I think if we just keep going, and I tweeted this before Twitter.
Before Twitter existed? Wow, that's crazy.
Well, before it
You'd like write
imploded.
these
It
jokes
is-
on a
It is
airplane.
building 7 is what Twitter's doing right now. Is just
Nobody knows
imploding.
what that is.
I know.
He
Anyway,
does.
You do. You
He
love
does.
it.
Yeah, I know.
He
You
loves
love it.
Building 7.
I had my agent
his
call me
favorite
one
building.
time when I had a thing in development, and it was like the anniversary of
Just say your
9/11.
baby. She was pregnant.
Well, I'm trying to sound more Hollywood savvy, but I tweeted on Instagram I posted a picture of like Donald Rumsfeld and George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, and the caption was like, I don't know, these guys did 9/11 20 years ago, or whatever it was. It
Yeah.
was something about like,
Just reminding.
Yeah.
like congratulations to these guys. I forget what it was, some funny joke, but
I
it was.
used to tweet happy at 9/11. You know, people are like, well, make a wish at 11/11. I was always like, make a wish. It's 9/11. Make a wish, Dick Cheney. Not many people liked it.
I always post. I do that to Richard Bain. I always post whenever I notice, because I had a conversation with Richard about how I always look at the clock. It's 9. Like it just on a regular basis, I'll just be like, oh, it's 9/11. Like
I do it all
in
the
the
time,
morning
yeah.
and at night. That's when I never look for it, and every time I see it, I tweet it to the late Richard Bain, who was the original co-host of this podcast.
May he rest.
Really
in
didn't want to
peace.
do this. Really didn't want to do this
I know.
podcast.
It's so annoying. I wish he had.
I mean, it's like
hadn't
just
done
make
that.
up an excuse. You don't have to hang yourself in your backyard.
He was a dramatic person.
Yeah, he's really trying to get attention.
Yeah, that's
But my agents called me after I posted that on Instagram, and they were like, did you do this thing? Like, you don't really think 9/11's an inside job, do you? And I was like, what do you?
You have to delete that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you telling me to delete it? But they were more like, I don't know why I'm doing the like napkin burp thing. I ate 10
he's got
Slim Jims for
tuberculosis.
breakfast.
I think. He had tuberculosis.
Oh, there's blood.
Got to move to business.
But they were more like, but you don't think that, do you? And I was just like, what do you fucking care? Like, go get me booked at the fucking loony bin. Like, why are you calling me, asking me what my views on 9/11 are? Like, should I delete it? And they're like, well, yeah, but it's not, like, obviously, I guess that's not a good look when you're trying to get your Boner Patrol show made on Channel Penis. Which Channel Penis has gone the way of Tubi and what was the
Quibi.
Quibi, and what was the other one? CISO.
CISO. Oh my! I haven't thought about CISO in a long time.
We got to bring CISO back.
I remember when you had to promote CISO stuff, and then you had to tell people like, "Well, you gotta go download this, and you gotta get a code." And, you gotta do this. And people were like, "No, I'm not gonna do that."
I did a thing. I did a thing with Doug Stanhope for CISO, and he was just like, oh, whatever, it pays $5,000. Like, it was just like, come to Austin. It was South by Southwest, and you just do like 10 minutes. It pays like $5,000. It's going to be on CISO. Nobody's going to see it. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And I actually listened to a few things. I found like, because they put it like on an album. Either way, it wasn't like nobody's going to see it.
Yeah.
Not that I had like a super cavalier attitude, but it was like, well, whatever. I'll just do these bits. Like, it wasn't anything I put any real weight on. And but then it turned out it's like, oh, they made an album of it, and it is going to just be out there.
Oh, I remember that. You were like mad about it.
It's another bridge that I burned in this town.
You said the N-word on it or something.
No, I didn't say the N-word. But I did a tweet of because I didn't know. This is another great agent story where I was like, what? There's a wreck? Because I got like an email. They're like, oh, they need the titles for your tracks for the album. I'm like, what album? I thought this was just a CISO thing. My agent's like, oh no, I guess, yeah. It looks like, okay, yeah, it looks like there's an album in the contract. I'm like, well, you didn't see that before? Like, do we get any money for that? And she's like, no.
Oh my God.
And so I tweeted like, hey, anybody who buys this album, just rest assured that none of the money is going to the comedians. And then the guy who runs this company who produces every comedy special was livid and calling my agent like, give me his phone number. I want to talk to this asshole. And I was like, well, you can give him my number if you want. But it's like, yeah, this Comedy Dynamics is the name of the company.
Okay. I was like, I was trying to figure out in my head. I was like,
yeah, I guess I can say it. And yeah, it's another bridge that I've burned in this town, which I've been very good at.
You are good at that, actually.
Yeah, I've really.
You know which ones to burn, too.
Yeah, all the ones that can help you.
Yeah.
But like, there are times when it is confusing as like the funny person.
Yeah.
When you're like, think you're being funny or like doing what you do, and then they're like, hey, no. And you're like, but this is like why you found me.
Yeah. Like, well, and also too, it's like when you get that angry about something, it's like, oh, so is there like, I'm completely right then? Like, it's like, they're like, oh, well, you'll still get like, what is that? Sound exchange or whatever. I'm like, oh, great. So I'll make like 3 cents a year off of the fucking 2 tracks or whatever. Sound exchange is actually pretty good. But
well, it's if you need to get it on XM. That's the only way you get paid.
Okay.
You can't get
like on the radio.
No, like Sirius
on the Raw Dog.
That's the only way you
got to get on that
Raw Dog.
That's the
Raw Dog, bitch.
Yes. Yes. That is how you get.
You're listening to Raw Dog, Channel 98, only on Sirius XM. Now, for your listening pleasure from the album, My Son is Older Than Me, Billy Wayne Davis.
I hope I get paid for that. Get some plays.
My son is older than me.
Do you guys tour?
Us?
Yeah.
No, we've done one live show. Nobody listens to this, so you're
really
sorry. We should have mentioned that before you came.
Yeah, when you texted
that
me, I should. Thank you, sir.
We have virtually no audience.
You guys do the prank shows. That's like I was excited about coming out because like.
Do you want to do a prank call?
I love doing.
Yeah, we can do that.
It's like,
a lot of people come on and they don't like doing prank calls, which
this is the whole the whole time we've been talking about comedy in my head. I'm like, are we gonna do prank calls? Or is it?
You should have said.
No, he mentioned in text, but you know what? It's also sometimes it's fun. I think this has been very entertaining so far. I hope the fans agree.
Well,
it's like
a very entertaining.
It is
conversation.
my version of the Cat Williams podcast where I'm like, here's how the business is. Did you guys see the Cat Williams yesterday?
No, I've seen people tweeting about it, but I don't know what I kind of don't pay attention to anything because I don't care.
I saw some clips and I was like, huh. Anyway, and then a cousin of mine from East Tennessee that we're buds, but we're not like chatty buds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He hadn't texted in probably a year or so, and he texted me, "Have you seen this Cat Williams thing?" And I was like, okay, this is probably bigger than I realized. Yeah. If my cousin who trains horses in East Tennessee is just being like, is watching it at home on YouTube. I was like, oh. So, he did some Cat Williams stuff.
We have a horse guy that we call sometimes.
I can talk like my uncle, where it sounds like if if I don't get to the end of the sentence, but my insides are going to explode. There's contents under pressure.
Let me see if. Here's the angry horse guy. Do you want to call the horse guy and get him mad?
Oh, about the saddle?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't remember who you were talking to.
Remember that guy?
You can always jump in too.
So we're all live?
I feel like is it that microphone? I hear a rumbling.
I won't touch any.
I don't want to move.
Yeah, nobody move. Nobody move. Yeah, let's call the angry horse guy. And then maybe we could call a doula too.
Sure.
Man, this is all, well, whatever. This is why you need to be on the Patreon. Because I think this is all Patreon now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good.
So if you want to hear it, but there'll be some clips of the phone calls. Here we go.
See if he answers.
It's been a while. He might. Or he might just not answer private numbers anymore.
Hi, you've reached Kevin, and I'm not here right now. Please leave your name and number after you hear the tone.
This might be a real answering machine.
As I can.
Ask him to
Thank you very much.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Do you want to leave a message?
Sure. Hey, Kevin, it's me. I was just calling because I had some ideas for a saddle, because I know that you're a horse trainer. But I was thinking about, like, for when women ride horses or whatever, you could just have a saddle with, like, a dildo in the middle for them to sit on. So anyway, give me a call back. Thanks. Bye.
And hey, I'm sorry. Before we go, Kev, this is Hellman's partner. We were talking about maybe a saddle. I don't know if you're familiar with the Sibian. It's
a Sibian saddle. You could call it like a.
But would that vibrate the horse's spine out of whack? I guess that's a good question. You know what? We'll next answer your phone.
Please answer, because we have something important to tell you.
Yeah, we got to ask. We got some questions.
Thank you.
Bye.
So normally he answers and I ask him that and he gets mad and then he hangs up.
What's he do? He's just a horse guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a trainer or something like that, or has a stable. Yeah. I don't know. He'll just Google things and then call. I don't know really who he's calling.
We just really strike gold sometimes.
Yeah, there are a few people that get really mad.
There's the sign place that they remember the sign place.
Well, think of something. Who do you like to call? Who do you like to prank?
Well, let's call a doula.
We can, anyone you want to talk to, like, that's, this is kind of what we used to do in high school. It's just,
I know.
Yeah.
We would watch WCW Nitro and do prank calls after.
So is that the wrestling movie?
I saw that. Did you see the wrestling movie, The Iron Claw?
No, I don't. If it's not a kid's movie, I don't get to really watch.
Oh, yeah.
I actually got to slip out and watch it with my friend, but I think you would maybe like it if you liked wrestling.
It was, my dad loved it.
Weren't those guys WCW guys? What were the Von Dutch brothers or something?
The Von Erichs. They were kind of before WCW.
They were in the late 70s.
But they weren't. They weren't WWF ever.
I think the one
of them
brother
might have
is
made it.
Carrie.
Do you remember the Bushwackers?
That was WCW, right?
Ric Flair. Where was Ric Flair?
He was all over. He did all of them. He's like a big star, though. The Bushwackers were in WWF for a little bit. They were these Australian dudes, twins.
The Bushwackers.
I had a very small.
Yeah, they came to my high school and licked my head.
Oh, nice. Can't do that anymore.
Nope.
Can't go around licking heads.
Like, I had to introduce them because they were there to promote their regional wrestling show at our high school.
Oh, yeah.
And then as they're coming out after I introduced them, I was like, oh, no, I know what they do. And dude just grabbed my head and licked it.
Ugh.
He was just...
That's their thing? They lick
they're
people's
lunatics.
heads?
They're just like...
that's
I kind of remember that. But who was
they were nice, but they were insane.
Who were the guys? There were other guys that walked like this, too.
That was them.
They were two hillbilly guys. Oh, was it them?
Well, the hillbilly Jim, he and I played at the same junior college. He was in
nice. He was doing what, like a TED Talk?
He was a basketball player. Way before.
Oh, okay.
Way before I was there.
I went to the same high school Larry from the Three Stooges went to.
Really?
Yeah, there's a big mural of him on South Street.
Well, yeah. In Philadelphia, there's a... Hello?
Hi. You have reached Sherry.
Oh. I have a feeling none of these doulas are going to answer the phone.
Nobody's going to answer, yeah.
It's all just cell phones. These aren't real businesses.
No way.
We should... we should just start a business to fleece. And it's not even about fleecing. It's like just get in that recommendation from rich
It's
and
like
famous
hairdressers.
people.
Like when you see famous hairdressers, you're like, why are they famous? And you're like, it's because rich people are like,
they're doing the same thing.
They're good.
It's kind of
pay
like
him $1,000.
Chaz Dean.
Yeah, that guy's got billboards everywhere.
That's my
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Oh, hey, is this a doula situation?
A doula situation. I am a doula, sir, but I'm not a situation.
You what? Oh, a situation.
This is a doula, correct?
Yeah, that's my wife.
I'm pregnant.
My wife's pregnant as hell by a different guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, it's not a different guy. I'm just not sure who the father is.
It could be me.
Yeah. She doesn't want any parts of that.
She's not very patient. That's not
I know she's actually. I never fault anybody for doing that. That's the proper response.
That's the way.
Once you hear more than one person on the line, it's like I don't. Whatever's going on.
No, I'm
here.
not faulting them, but I'm just making fun of like, well, you're not very good. It's just like it's like this is nope.
Yeah. That's I'm kind of proud of people for doing that.
But most comedians would be like, what's going on here? I want to hear this out.
I have with the pranky stuff, which is like that also, those two things gave me like a reputation as this like prank guy. And I'm like, I was never really comfortable with that. I was like, those are just more like public art installations, really, like, or social experiments. Like,
yeah, it's more,
there's no
more
real
artistic
like
than
victim.
just being.
I think
like,
too,
I'm not like, lighting bags of dog shit on people's doorsteps.
But you were also kind of, what's the word?
An asshole?
Like you were a real smart ass on Twitter for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that helped
I guess,
with
yeah.
that. No, and I'm just saying that I'm telling you it did, because that was my perception too.
Yeah.
I was
like, you were more pranky than you actually were because of how you would
sarcastic.
Yeah, it's just never really.
You're never serious. I mean,
Yeah.
I was 6 months pregnant, and his friends didn't think I was pregnant. Like they thought we were lying.
Yeah, until she started looking pregnant,
Yes.
everybody was like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like, yeah, right, okay. Nobody believed anything he says. I'm like, I'm serious.
That is crazy. Yeah, I play poker with a bunch of guys. I just started playing poker with them.
Yeah.
And
nobody believed you, I don't think. No.
Johnny Pemberton didn't believe me for a while.
Our friend Johnny Pemberton took me aside. We were out somewhere, and I was pregnant, and he didn't believe me. And he was like, I got someone pregnant in Florida. And I thought he was having a heart-to-heart with me. And Brendan's like, no, he just... Like, he thought I was fucking with him, so then he was fucking with me. But I was just like, why would I lie about being pregnant for that long?
And that bothered
I like
me
that
too.
Johnny's response is like, I'm gonna prank you back.
Yeah, like he thought, oh, I'll just like mess around. Like he was just trying to mess around, but I took it seriously because I thought.
Well, I think I believed it too.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but that's what bothered me with people not believing that you were pregnant, because I'm like,
What's the end game
payoff?
here?
Like, why? Like, you should think better of me than that. Like, I'm funnier than.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what he's saying. Your Twitter presence, your.
Well, yeah. That was. Yeah.
You're always joking. Nobody knows if you're serious.
They
about
made
anything.
you. Someone got you to shave your beard at Conan once.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I remember you.
I mean, that was
pretty. Yeah,
fucked
that
up,
wasn't
actually.
a fun story. Well, the thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
fine.
I mean, it's just kind of you think about it and you're like, that's just mean. Like, there's not.
It was like, it was a poorly thought out kind of thing. Well, the thing that bugged me was that
we've
needed
talked about
the
this.
money.
They made you fill out tax.
I filled out paperwork. Yeah,
that is where you're like,
it's like
that's kind of dangerous.
That's the first thing I asked was like, I was like, so does this pay? Because I had done Conan like the year earlier that year or whatever, and I don't know, what do you get paid, $1,600 or something to do a set?
Yeah.
And that was like the first question I asked was like, do I get paid the same that I did on that? Like, I need it. I was really broke.
Yeah.
So that was the.
Because like that's when we were doing the World's Dumbest that paid like $11.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, not to out.
Actually,
that was awful.
Well, I wound up, World's Dumbest wound up being a pretty good gig for me. Like, I was with it for a while.
You actually got really rich.
They start you off very.
They wanted me
low.
to be a hillbilly, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not like a."
Yeah,
and
you're not
they're like, "Well, what if you dressed up like?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just
put this piece of hay in your mouth."
It was kind of. I was just like, "Oh,
put on these overalls and this
I
messed
can't
up straw
do
hat.
that."
Yeah.
because then people are going to come to my stand-up shows expecting a certain type of stand-up that I do not do, and they're going to be mad. They're already mad anyway.
Yeah. You have any specials or anything you need?
Oh yeah, my last special is called Testify. It's on YouTube.
Billy, I'm sorry. I would do this all day. This has been a great way to kick. And just full disclosure to the listeners, this is our first recorded episode of 2024. So I think this is a good way to kick it off. And we'll have Billy back on soon.
Please.
Go watch his specials. Are they all on YouTube?
Yes. Just Google Billy Wayne Davis and all that
shit. Yeah, look in the description of the podcast. And
I'll be in Alaska this month.
Chill Coot Charlie's?
Yeah, I'm going to do Coots too, and I'm doing Juneau, Fairbanks, Tuckatine, Kenai, Anchor Point, Anchorage, and Wasilla.
BillyWayneDavis.com?
BWDtour.com, because someone a long time ago got BillyWayneDavis.com and thought I was going to be a bigger star than I was and wanted like $5,000. And I was like, oh, you guys
and now they still won't let go of it.
Yeah.
For the full uncut episode, head to patreon.com/World Record Podcast. For the full uncut episode, head to patreon.com/World Record Podcast. Patreon.com/World Record Podcast.